Joining me now is our national security expert, one of a couple we have. We're going to have on Colonel Rob Maness right after David Pine. But first up is David Pine of dpine.substack.com. David, welcome back. No slowdown in the news cycle, my friend. What do you make of, well, we got a few things I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask a lot of the same questions of the Colonel. Let's see what both of you guys, as former military guys and national security expert guys, think. But the one that's got everybody scratching their heads today is what appears to be a major meeting of admirals and generals. Hegseth orders rare urgent meeting of hundreds of generals and admirals. What do you make of this, David?
Hey, Brandon. I think this is an unprecedented meeting. We haven't seen anything like this for decades, certainly not since the Cold War. I mean, I don't recall anything like this ever happening before. There was a national security correspondent who's been working the Pentagon for 30 years that said that they've never seen anything like this, and they say that we might be going to war. And the question is, why is he doing it in person, or why isn't he doing it at the Pentagon? The Pentagon is an armored building, well protected, well defended. Granted, Quantico has some defenses as well, probably has some anti-drone defenses. But certainly if we had an enemy that wanted to decapitate our entire military leadership, this would be the perfect opportune way to do so. But why isn't he doing it virtually? Are there going to be some top secret war plans that are going to be discussed, perhaps against Iran, or Venezuela, perhaps even Russia itself? Or is there some intel that maybe China is about to make a move on Taiwan within the next 2 to 3 weeks? That's a possibility as well. But it's really strange. I mean, when our generals and admirals are saying, and their staffs are saying they have no idea what the meeting is for, that's really unusual. But it does suggest something that's pretty much top secret.
So if you had to guess, what do you think it's about? I mean, I guess could it be about Russia? Because President Trump puts out on Truth Social the other day that he's going to keep funding NATO to do what they want with the weapons when it comes to Ukraine, and Ukraine might take back all their territory and then some of Russia's. Is he anticipating a wider war with Russia? Russia's foreign minister today, I have a video clip of Russia's foreign minister, what he said today. I played it on radio. I can certainly play it here as well. But he's saying, hey, we consider that Russia, right now, we consider that NATO is at war with us. Listen to this. I'm going to skip it ahead a little bit. Here we go. Listen to this.
В моей стране настоящую войну и прямо в ней участвуют. В этом же руками которой... All right, well, there you go. I thought that was going to be the translation. I'll grab the translation as I don't speak Russian. Logan has it bookmarked, so let me go there and grab it. All right, here we go. Here it is.
Principles enshrined in the UN Charter, taken in full comprehensively with due regard how they're interrelated, is a way of laying the groundwork for the progressive development of all states without exception, large and small. Refusing to comply with the Charter's principles is an expression of neocolonial ambitions, leading to the rise of global instability, multiplication of regional conflicts. A key example of this is the Ukraine crisis, which was provoked by the collective West. And we also, of course, know the history of colonialism in Africa, where borders were drawn up arbitrarily without any concern for nationality confession. And back to Ukraine, NATO and the EU have basically declared war on my country and are partaking it directly.
Okay, so NATO has basically declared war on my country, the country being Russia. What do you make of this?
Well, I think he's absolutely right. I mean, if we had, a Russian allied Canada that was bombarding our major cities, Washington, D.C., New York City, Boston, with long-range missile strikes that were supplied by the Russian Federation, nuclear capable. If we had thousands of Russian troops inside Ukraine, including Belarusian troops actually in combat, threatening, posing this existential threat to the U.S., I don't think we would call we would call it war as well. And that's essentially what it is. And especially where, we have U.S. Weapons technicians, aiming the weapons, controlling the weapons, and perhaps even pulling the trigger against Russian military and civilian targets, primarily military. But, we also know that General Jack Keane, former Army Vice Chief of Staff, has stated that he knows that all of Ukraine's F-16s are piloted by former U.S. Air Force combat pilots, F-16 pilots, and with the proposed ERAM cruise missiles that are air launched that Trump has promised to provide Ukraine, it would be U.S. veteran pilots, combat pilots that would be firing those missiles on Russian targets. So, Russia's absolutely right. I wish they were wrong, but they're absolutely right to call it a war. And when they're saying that we're waging a war against them, that gives them the right to strike back in a major way, up to and including massive cyber attacks on the U.S. homeland.
Speaking of which, let's go to the Secret Service saying, "Hey, we found these SIM servers, SIM cards." About 35 miles outside of New York City that could disrupt communications and even send anonymous threats. They don't seem to know who this is. Seems like it's a foreign actor. I mean, is this not exactly what we would expect before you go to war? They would use, or either a major terrorist attack, as the DNI warned about in their bulletin on Friday, warning first responders. Is this not how you would disrupt first responders, confuse first responders, shut down communications, whether it's a terrorist doing an attack inside or a foreign country that's going to do one from outside?
It is, absolutely. And unfortunately, it's the ongoing Trump militarization of U.S. foreign policy that's multiplying our enemies and pushing our enemies close together. Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Venezuela. They were allies before, but they're a lot closer allies today, thanks to Biden and Trump. And sadly, Trump's foreign policy is neoconservative. He had 3 months. His first 3 months in office were amazing. A breath of fresh air. He was being the America First peace president that he promised he would be. And then suddenly there was a break, and in early May, he began to militantly take Zelensky's side and ally with Ukraine and sign this defense pact with them, the minerals deal, and make all these threats against Russia to engage in direct war against them. And that's, when you have these militaristic foreign policies where we're intervening militarily on the borders of military superpowers like Russia and China, it vastly increases the chances that we'll experience an existential catastrophic attack on the U.S. homeland. And this is just one way to do it. This would be probably more of a regional attack that would take down emergency networks and potentially hospitals, the first responders, as you mentioned, firemen, police, but it could be much more. And it could be, they could have multiple networks, servers throughout major cities across the country that could strike simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. The Daily Express U.S., here we are. They've just put out an article today. Here's the headline. U.S. Navy puts on a light show with 7,500-mile thermonuclear weapon test. Multiple Trident II D5 ballistic missiles were fired off the coast of Florida and into the Atlantic. What do you make of this and the timing?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out the title's wrong. We haven't had any nuclear tests since 1992. We even haven't had above ground, of course, since the nuclear test ban treaty. And then we haven't had any underground either since the newer treaty. Actually, since 1992, Bush imposed a moratorium following the collapse of the Soviet Union. Russia and China, we believe, are conducting underground nuclear tests. There's evidence of that. Iran, of course, potentially as well. North Korea, we know for sure that they've done that. But these are ballistic missile tests, strategic missile tests that are, I think it's, strategic signaling that Trump loves to do. Whether it's B-2s over Putin's head in Alaska or missile tests. I think it's fine. I think it's important to test our missiles. They're growing a lot older. The D5, the Trident D5s are much more, I guess, less obsolescent than our Minuteman. Our Minuteman missiles are to the point where we don't know if they'd actually, work as they're meant to because they're 55 years old in some cases. But I think this is signaling to both Russia and China.
Mm. Logan, do we have the clip from Peter Pry I played on radio today? We should play it again. I want to talk about the, I guess it's the Satan II. That's the one. Well, look, here we go. We got it right here. Here's your friend, my friend, the late Dr. Peter Pry from this very news desk. Watch this.
Another super weapon they have is the Avant-Garde, which is a hypersonic reentry vehicle that can be carried by any of their ICBMs. A large number of them could be carried by the Sarmat, or the Satan II, and it will be maneuverable so it can penetrate our national missile defenses, although it doesn't need that maneuverability because our national missile defenses were never designed with the sophistication to intercept Russian weapons anyway. But in their paranoia, they've designed it to penetrate our national missile defense, or perhaps that's just disinformation, because they want to mislead us about why it has that maneuverability. You're always saying, well, the Avant-Garde has maneuverability to get through our missile shield. But in reality, this also gives it unprecedented accuracy, making it one of the most effective first strike weapons they've ever had, because the ability to have a maneuvering warhead not only enables you to penetrate our national missile defenses as they currently exist, but it would enable you to have extraordinarily precise accuracy against our hard targets like our missile silos. An Avant-Garde maneuvering warhead, might be able to strike the silo right on its lid, or get so close to the silo that you don't even need a nuclear weapon in order to destroy it. You do it perhaps with a kinetic kill, or with a very low yield clean warhead, so that it would limit the amount of fallout and radioactive fallout that would come, and limit the damage to our civilian population. So you could have a very clean surgical nuclear first strike and win a nuclear war with very little risk of U.S. retaliation against their cities, because we would have the damage to our own population would be negligible. That could be the purpose of the Avant-Garde.
What do you make of that, Peter? I mean, David, our friend Peter.
Yeah, boy, we sure miss him today. He would have so much insight into all the stuff going on. So prophetic in terms of what he predicted, the threats that he foresaw. Yeah,
do we have any more of those, Logan? You can grab me to play real quick. We have so much by him. We should play. This is the time to unroll it for sure. But keep going. Sorry, David.
Yeah, in terms of his statement that a conventionally armed, Sarmat or Avant-Garde could take out one of our missile silos, I don't think there's any evidence that that's the case. I think, the other thing he stated that low yield, nuclear ICBMs could take out our missile silos. That is possible. I've had briefings on that recently. So that is actually something that the Russians do have. They have built, low yield nuclear weapons, mainly around 50 kilotons, which is at the upper limit of what's considered non-strategic nuclear weapons for that very purpose. And so, in fact, the Sarmat missile, which Russia has not yet deployed, they initially planned to deploy it 2 years ago, can carry up to 50 warheads, 50 kiloton warheads. Or it can carry 24 Avant-Gardes, which travel at speeds up to Mach 21, which, by way of comparison, a missile is, if it's Mach 5 or above, it's considered hypersonic. So this would be, ultra hypersonic.
All right. So, David, if you had to guess what's going on here, or predict what you think is going to happen, What do you think the audience now is, my wife's like, hey, what's going on here? Find out tonight from these guys. We're prepped. We've been prepped for years, but should we be expecting the power to go down, the water gets shut? I mean, Gordon Chang's been warning forever that with 100,000 military-age males Chinese here, they could poison the water. He says they're going to let off bombs. What do you anticipate? How do we know that Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, how do we know that they're all here working together? Now, then you add in the Hezbollah, which is Iran, Hamas, that's Muslim Brotherhood. How do we know these groups we know the Red-Green Axis is working together, but how do we know they haven't decided they want to coordinate an October 7th style attack here that's just beyond what the American people could ever imagine, which is what we've been talking about since October 7th. I mean, they were warning that day, we're going to do it again and again and again and again. They were saying that on October 7th. And now we've got people like Sarah Carter saying they're planning 4 or 5-man teams or more to hit multiple cities at one time. There seems to be a clear red-green axis here, training these shooters. I'm going to get into that with Rob Manus, but Hadia Miramonde, who was in the government and tracking ISIS and trying to stay a step ahead of them, she says they are definitely training these LGBTQ trans shooters. This is not just them doing it. It is a red-green axis. It's the communists and the Marxists working together. So how do we know they haven't been extremely patient, waiting on the right moment for all of our enemies to act together at one time?
Well, that's the danger. I mean, that's what I probably you and I have been predicting for years, is that the more we try to confront Russia militarily when it doesn't even want to be our enemy. It didn't pose a threat to NATO before the war in Ukraine, and the only reason it does today is because we're attacking it, with long-range missiles built by the U.S., built by NATO against Ukraine. We pushed them into an alliance. Russia and China, of course, have had defensive, operational military plans for decades. They've since developed joint offensive military plans against the U.S. Putin, it's very clear Putin has no desire to attack the U.S. He would do so only if the U.S. were to attack him first, or if Trump escalates, he could potentially join a Chinese war against the U.S. That would likely be limited to Russia massing troops against the Baltics and Poland to kind of draw U.S. forces there and engage in joint massive cyber attacks on the U.S., along with counter space attacks to take down our entire critical infrastructure. When people talk about these terrorist attacks, those to me are low risk. Is it possible for a terrorist to take down our grid, for a few weeks? It absolutely is. Is that, that's not really, to me, the big risk. The big risk for me is that Trump, his bluster, he decides his bluff and bluster needs to be operationalized in terms of an actual military strike against Russia, China, or again, potentially Iran. And then they retaliate by taking down our entire critical infrastructure, our food and water distribution, our power, and satellite networks, and that could take down an early warning system. That could severely degrade our nuclear command and control. Wouldn't take it out without a super EMP, but it could degrade it. That's the real threat, and that's something that would likely happen on the first day of major combat operations with either China or the Russian Federation.
Mm-hmm. Well, here we are in 2025. Let's see, Leo H.O.H. Holman and the Deagle report. Remember us talking for so long about that? Leo did an article on it. I'm going to find it real quick. Here we go. Why the Deagle population forecast of nearly 70% fewer Americans by 2025 may have been right on target. We have talked about this now for such a long time. And one has to wonder, this is back in 2014. What is the military industrial complex, the CIA, what have they been planning? We know they planned COVID so far in advance. What have they been planning? And now they've got Donald Trump apparently going from the peace president that he was bragging about at the UN this week to, hey, let's encourage NATO and Ukraine to take back all of their land and even maybe some of Russia's. And this is, I don't know, it's like waking up in a different time warp. Everything's changed on us here. The script's been flipped. And now I'm thinking, I don't know if anything's going to happen this year. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's 2027. I don't know. But we still have the Deagle report that was saying around 2025, we'd have a decrease in American population of like 68.5%. The UK would see a decrease of like 70-something percent, 77%. What do you make of this?
Well, first, I think that Trump's, Truth Social post that we discussed on your show a couple of days ago, I think he was really just bloviating. Does he really think that Ukraine can take back all of its territory and re-invade Russia? I don't think there's a chance that that's true at all. I think, he literally says stuff for shock effect. In this case, he's been trying to badger and bully Russia to capitulate to U.S. peace terms, which were issued as part of the 22-point Kellogg plan that Russia rejected in early May. And he's not giving up on that. He's like a bulldog. He's like, I'm not going to pressure Zelensky. He's my buddy. He's my, puppet master, I guess you could say, along with Netanyahu. So he's not going to, threaten Zelensky at all, but he's going to threaten Putin in every which way that he can, whether it's with sanctions or more weapons, or claiming that Russia's military is a joke, that they can't defeat Ukraine in 3.5 years. When the truth is, all Putin had to do was keep his troops around Kyiv, not withdraw them in March and April of 2022, and the war would have ended 3.5 years ago. So this is a matter of Putin not being forceful enough. When he has every ability, he could have used a massive cyber attack to take down Ukraine and force it to surrender and occupy all of Ukraine with 500,000 Russian troops. And he chose not to, demonstrating conclusively that he has no interest in taking Ukraine in terms of all of Ukraine. The war is been about trying to move the clock back to the pre-Maidan coup and make Ukraine neutral again, a neutral Switzerland type state again. But in terms of the Deagle report, that's just crazy stuff. The only thing that could take down our population that much would be, a massive cyber attack, super EMP attack, nuclear strike, which also took down our critical infrastructure, or massive, biological event, a pandemic that made COVID look like Disneyland. So, I don't know what the basis for this report was, but if that's what they're predicting and that this is the timeline, it might explain some of Trump's actions to try to accelerate World War III if he's aligned himself with the deep state.
Let's pray that's not happened. When you talk like that, David, not that I care, we want the truth, we want your opinion. But what kind of response do you get? Do you get a lot of hate emails, a lot of hate comments, direct messages? What happens? Or do people thank you for being just an independent voice with common sense?
It's a combination, because I'm a longtime Trump loyalist, but right. I'm not a propagandist. I'm not like Sean Hannity, that has to twist and bend with every flip flop and try to justify it. I think I think he's a good man. He's he's sincere. He does want peace. He doesn't know how to do it. But you can be sincere and be sincerely wrong, right, David? That's right. I'd rather he be do the right thing for the wrong reason. Instead, looks like he's doing the wrong thing for the right reason. So his motivations are good, but his decision to follow the neocon playbook, as his neocon advisors are pushing him to do, could threaten our very existence. So,
do you think he's getting?
I'm not afraid to call him out.
Do you think he's getting false information? Do you think he's being led down this path with information that's just not true?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been misinformed, especially about Russia, about the war in Ukraine, from the very beginning. He's being told that Putin wants all of Ukraine. He's being told that Russia can't defeat Ukraine. That Putin's he's not just a dictator. He's, power mad and wants to maybe attack NATO as well. So he's, when you get fed the wrong information as President of the United States, people shouldn't be surprised.
You mean like George W. Bush and
actions.
like George W. Bush and weapons of mass destruction, that kind of misinformation you give a president?
Well, that was misinformation that came from him, because I think he had every reason to know that they did not have weapons of mass destruction. He wanted to invade Iraq no matter what, so they were just fishing for new reasons. The rationale for invading Iraq kept changing, and it was hilarious when he had that videotape where he condemned himself. Talked about someone who engaged in an unprovoked aggression, an invasion of Iraq, and that he attempted to correct himself, but instead of correcting himself, he said an unprovoked attack against Ukraine and I guess Iraq as well. So he that was one of the most honest things he'd ever say.
dpine.substack.com. You got a new article on this tonight, right?
Yeah, it should be coming out tonight.
dpine.substack.com. dpine.substack.com. All right, David, I don't know if I got the answer out of you or not. What should our audience be doing? People watching tonight are like, well, should I be running to Costco? Should I go buy more freeze-dried food for Brandon? Should I be stocking up on water? What should I be doing?
Of course, large stocks of food and water. If you're doing a Costco run this late, it might be too late. But I think there's still time to buy a lot of food storage and get some really large water barrels. I have a couple of 550-gallon drums at my house. Try to relocate in a rural area, maybe by a lake, as I have. But also, guns and ammo, of course, solar generators, Tesla battery power walls. Those are all very helpful, and I've invested a lot of money in all of those. But this is not a Trump was supposed to bring peace and safety and security to the United States, and he's unfortunately in his moves during the last 3 to 4 months, he's done the opposite.
It is very shocking, to be honest with you. It is very shocking. dpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. As always, David, thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Brandon. You're a great patriot. Have a great day.
You are as well, David. David Pine checking in. We'll be right back with Colonel Rob Maness. Don't go away. We have a big announcement, folks, something we've been waiting on for several months, and it's now here. It's called Bella Melt. You were on it for just 1 week when you lost 3 pounds. So in the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. It's a sugar-free, fast melt caramel. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we've talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel. We're noticing other people losing up to 7 pounds in the first week. 4 pounds has been about the average. As you lose weight and as you take these Bella Melts, it's going to help lower that blood sugar in your body as well.
All the information is there. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. Just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 Fast Action.